Hello and welcome to episode number 256 of the Armin Show podcast. I intro with the number and the name, always changing up the introduction. Welcome to this episode. On this episode, this is a thing we haven't done in a while, which is called Two Guests. I've had this on just a couple times, and this is a third or fourth time. But these two guests are part of a duo, a congregation, an ensemble, if you will. They are titled Untitled Social Experiment, which is not, it's the title was untitled. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
I do the smoothest introductions. Nobody else can introduce like myself. Now, you guys are a duo, Untitled Social Experiment. Please introduce yourselves to your audience names, and that is all, unless you have like a favorite color.
I'm Krystall. My favorite color is like opal gray. And aside from Untitled Social Experiment, we're also known as USE, which is the abbreviation.
I'm Daniel James Smith. I come from England, but I've been in LA for like 6 years. And I'm a music producer, songwriter. I love all the colors equally.
All of them.
Yeah, I love them.
Touche.
This is a cool thing. Now, how did you guys get to becoming by the way, I haven't had a band on. I wanted to point out the last band I had on was each of the members of a group that was called Saunders Saloon one by one, because they're my friends over different episodes. How did you guys become a band? How did you get to know one another? How was this developed?
It's really funny. We actually met like 5 years ago. I was hanging out with his bandmate on Valentine's Day. Not romantically, we were just hanging, and he's like, let's go to my friend Dan's house. And I was like, all right, I'm down. Dan had a broken arm. It was like real sad and had some broken furniture. And my friend that I was hanging out with was really stoned, and Dan had a broken arm, and he's like, I have to fix this furniture. I was like, well, I'll do it. So we took like a trip to Home Depot, and I fixed his furniture, and like we don't really remember that day very well.
Yeah, it was blurry. I was on lots of painkillers because I broke my collarbone, and it was real painful. But Krystall came and saved the day.
Yeah, and then like we never saw each other again. And like in my mind, like I literally never thought about him after that day, and I don't think he ever thought about me either.
Yeah, no, not really. You just popped into my head like 4 years later, and I was like, what? Like her name popped into my head, and I searched on Instagram, and I was like, whoa, her art is crazy. It looks like how my music sounds.
Oh.
It's like very similar in tone. And so I just sent her a message, and I was like, yo, let's like work together when I come to LA.
Yeah, he like air quotes slid into my DMs asking if we wanted to work together, and like he legitimately was just like, I want to make art with you, and I was like, of course, sure. And he came, and I was like gonna blow him off, and then luckily I didn't blow him off. I actually did meet up with him, and we just got along really well. And jokingly, I'd never played an instrument really before. And he's like, I'm having a concert and I need to put a band together. And I was like, bass is easy, right? And I ended up just playing the bass in his concert. And then
She killed it.
We became like best
Totally
friends over
Nice.
the course of a month, and we're making all kinds of like weird stuff together. And then it kind of just snowballed into Untitled Social Experiment. It's sort of like it
started off as like, just, yeah, like an experiment.
Yeah, it was kind of like a joke. It was kind of like a punk joke, and
We were really inspired by this band called the KLF, and they basically just trolled society.
KLF.
KLF, yeah, they were a UK band. The thing they're most famous for is they made a bunch of money from having like #1 singles, and then they took £1 million, which is what they made, to an island in Scotland, invited all the music journalists.
Wait, what island?
I think it was Jura.
Okay.
And they burnt £1 million in front of all the music journalists,
Oh.
and then deleted their entire catalog of music.
That is a statement right there.
such a statement.
But they are famous for doing things like that. They also played at it was like the British version of the Grammys.
Oh.
And they're like a dance music band. And they got asked to play at the Grammys, and they invited like a thrash metal band to come and cover their song whilst they came out on stage with machine guns and fired blanks into the crowd.
That's a nice statement too.
They were raw, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're real extreme. So
They
it was
sound
kind of
extreme.
like we're joking with that, and we were gonna be like super super extreme, but we kind of just like started collaborating
Mhm.
and didn't stop, and now we're at like 500 or something demos, and we just keep making music, and we're just like making lots of art.
One thing I
Yeah.
noticed, not to cut in, but I like that comment you made earlier that you could tell this man was about his content, because I noticed it. I could notice it before you would say something. The way you come across is nice and focused. It's not like a distracted form. I could tell if you're into something, you'd be into that thing clearly. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yay, thanks. You too.
We both have that. We both have that.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like when you mentioned Scotland. The reason I asked the island is I've had a past guest, Mary, and she's from Scotland, so she would know all the islands. So it'd be kind of cool for her to. She lives there.
Cool.
She lives in Glasgow.
Oh, wow,
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it was just one of those remote islands. There's a really cool book about it by a guy called John Higgs. I can highly recommend. It's called The Band Who Burned $1 Million, I think.
Oh.
I don't know. It's great.
Then one other thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
I
But
got
yeah,
mine.
no, so it was just like, it started off as a joke, and then it snowballed. We made like this crazy art that just kept going, and it ended up not being a joke. We're a little bit more serious.
Yeah,
now.
and like now in the last year we've been hired by an artist to produce an album, and like we started a record label. I think we did 22 releases last year,
Yeah.
and we started in May.
Yeah.
So yeah, in 7 months we had 22 releases. It was crazy.
Yeah, now we're like gearing up for an album, plus a couple albums on his project, T.O.L.D. There's lots of things going on.
We're keeping busy.
That's a good thing. It comes to mind two things. One of them, I hope I don't forget the second one, but I like how you mentioned the beginning was kind of blurry. You don't remember exactly what was said the first day you guys met. Those key times in life, they always seem blurry, right? They're the instant
It's so weird.
Yeah,
starting moments.
The only thing I remember is that she was really into Bright Eyes, which is my favorite band.
Oh.
At the time, and like I hadn't met anybody since I'd moved here that was into Bright Eyes because everyone was too cool.
I was talking about this a few days ago. Do you think about this concept? If someone is into a good chunk of the material you're into, how possible is it that you don't get along with them? You tell me.
It's possible. It's possible.
It's still possible?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering about that because, like, let's say somebody likes science a lot and reads some of the books that I read, and I read them. The chance of me not getting along with them is real low.
Yeah, the chance is low, I'd say, but there is a chance.
Yeah, it's low, but I had a very specific experience when me and someone got along. Like we thought we were gonna get along in some crazy dimension, and then it was just like we hate each other.
Oh, so it wasn't that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Actually, it's happened to me a lot.
Really?
Oh.
And I don't hate people very often though. Like,
look, everybody, she hates people a lot. Everybody now.
No, I
I
feel like I'm friends with everybody. So like the off chance that I don't get along with someone is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
But the few times it's happened, like I think I was like very similar to the person. Like we had a lot in common. And then like it wasn't even really my end that hated them. It was usually them that was, I don't know, felt like they were mean to me. The last time specifically, it was like that person was just like really mean to me and really condescending. So
well, you're a terrible person. So
I don't know. I'm just like,
I was trying to be mean there. It didn't work. Darn it. Yeah, that's true. Usually
it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm. There's one end that usually takes more of the brunt of things in a lifetime.
Yeah, I'm definitely a very open-minded person though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so, well, a few things came to mind, but one of them, do you guys have any specific bands you would want to like play with in public or that you want to emulate other than the one you mentioned earlier that you like?
That's a good question.
I only have good questions here. That's it.
I mean, there's this band like The Voids, Julian Casablancas from The Strokes' new band. I think they're doing really cool stuff. They're like pushing the envelope, I think. I'd like to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't that many bands like.
I feel like there's probably like 20, but like I can't think right now.
Yeah,
When you put me on the spot, I told Dan I'm like really bad at being on the spot. Like in 4 hours, I'll get back to you and be like, these people, these people, these people, these people. But right now I'm like,
We are pulling 4 hours from now into the moment. I am pulling it. Time bridging. I think it's
My
called.
Chemical Romance.
Oh.
Legends.
They are very
But
well
like,
known.
yeah, but like what year was the first album?
2006. Like 2006,
Yeah.
my chem.
Yeah, then. If
So
we can
earlier.
if we can play with time here, if you're pulling 4 hours from in the future, I'm pulling like 14 in the past.
I like it. That's pretty cool. We're pulling time. What is time?
Yeah.
Time is slowed down right now. Speaking of the right now, let's include that because I include the moments these days. We are currently, there is a viral sensation, and it's not a TikTok star going around the earth. It is coronavirus. And so this
It's crazy.
it has altered a lot. How much has it altered your mindset? Are you highly affected? Did you panic a lot? Did you not? Are you smooth in the moment?
I mean, I'm concerned for like older relatives, and vulnerable people. I'm not concerned about getting it, but I'm concerned about the effects it's going to have on like our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I didn't expect it to get as bad as it's got. The thing I'm actually most worried about is if the American government gets afraid that the economy is going to crash and they stop the quarantine and then it spreads like wildfire. That's the main concern I have.
Right.
But I don't mind the quarantine. I think it's like a nice time to reflect, and you're really forced to sit with yourself. I think that's healthy for everybody. It's like a forced meditation retreat if you let it.
Right.
It's weird because like I never panic about anything. Like I'm the most calm person in crazy situations. And I had like one day when I was like, this is weird. And it was the day that like, it was like last week when it's like, we're already so far in. It's like, I didn't think that the grocery stores shelves would still be empty. Like we went and they're just like everything we needed on the list was not there. And then I got home and all of a sudden the power was cutting out and like our power was going off for like a half hour at a time for like sequentially. It was super weird. And like it would flicker on for a second and then it would go off for like a half hour. And we're like, what is going on? This is really weird. And we researched and we're like, the power company is like not employing all the same contractors that they normally would. So the upkeep is like not on the level it should be. And my worry is how that applies to like other infrastructure and how that's going to apply to everyone in the long run. Like what's going to break now that we aren't prepared for it to break, that shouldn't break because we don't have the upkeep. And like it could be just like systems, like interpersonal systems, or it could be like a lot of different things. I think we're not prepared for that. And especially like with everybody out of work, what's gonna happen, like I don't know, it's like such an impossible like giant thing that we're changing with everyone not doing their normal jobs and not going about their daily life, that like the upfront like costs we're seeing like directly, people are missing their salaries and like people, like a lot of stuff's changing, but like I'm worried about the stuff that we're not seeing.
I want to follow up on that. I sometimes think about that. Usually, like for example, sometimes I can feel like something's coming up a month away or 2 months or 5 months away. I don't know what it'll be and I can't prepare for it. Or you're about to go on a trip and you can take all the things you need, but actually you didn't know that there was going to be a train issue or something. There's always something out of your hands. This one has a little bit of that for the next, like 2 months from now, we have a bigger issue and then we can't respond to it because we pause for like 2 months, maybe something like that.
It's like a really big dose of uncertainty. We're like forced to face uncertainty in a huge way.
And for some people,
everyone is so susceptible.
This is true. A lot of groups, and there's many people responding to it in different ways. They're looking at the economic effects or the social effects, or this part's closed down, so then people go to the parks, but then the parks are closed down, so then people have to go at home, and there's a lot of adjustment happening very quickly.
Yeah, it's weird. Like we live right on Malibu Creek State Park. Like it's our backyard basically. You go out the gate and you're there.
Okay.
And so that's where I run. Right. And I've noticed it's got so busy in the last 2 weeks. It's like dangerously busy sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's a mountain near me that is usually pretty empty, and last Thursday, it was just me for the first time that went all the way and back, and there was 0 people. Then 2 days later, when it was the weekend, everybody had their. Suddenly, I was surrounded. There's like 120 people. I was like, where do these people come from?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I saw people were someone that lives in Joshua Tree. I saw was like mad because normally like these roads in Joshua Tree are empty, and there was like bumper to bumper traffic. Like everyone was like, let's go to the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, we don't even have a hospital. Like, God forbid anything happened to you. Like, our hospital capacity is so low. Like, get out of here.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. Everyone really needs to like take this cautiously and do stay home, because where you are, like, I don't know, it's just really important that we know where the population is and that like things stay level. Because if everybody goes to rural areas because they think, oh, if I'm in the rural, then I'm safe, and like they all get Airbnbs out in the middle of nowhere, then the hospitals that are supposed to service no people are gonna get filled too. It's like, I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's super complicated because also people don't want to just be stuck inside, and there's like a lot of psychological issues.
Well, this is true.
Was that an ant?
No, there's some tobacco.
Okay.
There's ants on the desk, and Dan is doesn't want to kill any of them because they could have been his mom in a past life.
That's so cute.
And I scraped some tobacco off the desk, and Dan freaked out.
They look like an ant. They're like my little cleaning buddies.
Mm-hmm.
I spend all night in the studio sometimes, and then I come back the next day, and the ants have come and cleaned all of my detritus.
They are kind of like cleaning buddies.
Yeah.
I have a spider named Johnny in the corner of my room. Johnny the
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah, he exists.
A couple of room spiders.
He just stays there.
that's so cute.
Now,
You gotta be friendly.
mm-hmm. Turning it back around, what has been like? What kind of instrumentation or musical output have you guys done over your years, and how has that improved, or how have you practiced on that?
I started super young. My mom got me like work experience when I was 14 with a TV composer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like the UK's like one of the biggest TV composers in the UK. And I was just his bitch for a week. Like he just made me make him cups of tea. And I'd sit there and just watch him work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he let me sit at one of his old computers and gave me like a setup and said like make some stuff for a documentary. I just want atmospheric stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I started. And yeah, since then I started like a punk boy band and got like a fairly big record deal with a major label. That lasted 5 years. The album never came out.
Oh.
Then I moved to LA, signed to an indie label. Spent like a while on this record. That's when I met Krystall for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that record came out in 2016. And since then, I've just been really focused on the craft of producing and mixing. And I've always been a guitar player. I started playing when I was like 10 and a singer. But I've really gotten into producing in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, yeah, I'm just like super into like making beats and mixing.
You make beats also?
Yeah. I grew up on hip hop, so that's like my roots in a way.
Do you like Dr. Dre beats, DJ Quick beats, and those used by DMX and or Eminem?
I love all those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
like Dre was like my original hero.
Right.
Like the way he pushes stuff on the low end and like it's smooth but like hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me that was revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
I used to just like wake up and put on Dre really loud and really make my mom worry about me. When I was like 9.
Somewhat similar. Bang Bang has a great beat. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, dude.
Got some good beat.
Yeah.
Krystall, your musical background. I saw you singing. By the way, I should bring that back. Context. We were at an art gallery. My friend Krystall was there. She's been on the podcast before, and then Robbie was there too. And you guys performed. Krystall, you sang. Tell me about your musical and or instrumentational background.
So like I kind of got my start in elementary school choir.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in middle school choir for like a month, and I was like, this is so boring. I hate this, because I like hated the music that they made us sing. I was like, this sucks. I want to do my own thing, or like I want to do cooler music. And it was just always like if we did a pop song, it was like You're a Shining Star, or like something, or like I don't know, just something lame. And I was like,
wait.
I gotta get out of here.
Let me interject there real quick. Let's say they had put in music that you had thought was cool at the time. How different do you think that would have been for you? Because I wonder about that sometimes about early
Oh,
on.
I probably would have stayed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's probably the best that I got out. But yeah, I kind of forgot about singing. And then I don't know, I was driving around LA a lot and walking around New York a lot. Because I was a model full time for a couple of years, and most of my life was just like commuting, whether it be walking or driving.
Mhm.
And as I was commuting, I always have stuff pop in my head, and I'll just sing it to myself. And then I got to the point where I started taking voice memos just for fun, just because I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to save this.
Mhm.
And then like I tried to do a little project with one of my high school friends, but like he was kind of bipolar and he like deleted everything that we did. And this was like about the time that I met Dan. It was like after that, actually. I think after I tried to do the high school project, I met Dan like a couple months later. But like I was totally not singing. I was just like, meh. And then like I kept doing like voice memos and stuff and kept like writing stuff down. But I just like, for me, it was just like a fun, it was kind of like my journal, but it was like voice memos. And sometimes they would turn into like paintings and stuff. And then when I re-met Dan last year, I showed him my voice memos and he's like, oh shit, these are awesome. And he started producing them, which I was so grateful for. I was like, oh my God, you think they're good enough that you want to produce them? Holy shit. And then like, that's kind of how he started.
Yeah, that was like one where she was making these mouth noises. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
and I was like, that's the sickest synth I've ever heard. I just like used it as a synth.
It was funny because I tried to get into Max MSP because I wanted to like make stuff where it was like I didn't have to learn how to use an instrument and I could just use Max MSP, but like the free trial ended and then I was like, I can't afford this. Okay, I give up again. It's like I kept having these like little starts and then being like, oh, this isn't gonna work for me right now. Okay, come back to it later until the time's right. And then the time was right, so I started doing it and yeah, it's cool.
You should hear her bass skills now. Have you heard of Primus?
Primus, I've heard of Primus. Yeah.
Have you heard Johnny was a bus driver? Johnny was a race car driver.
Okay, so
Possibly.
basically Primus is notorious for really hard bass, and like I did play bass at his concert, but I kind of dropped it the whole year. And then since we're in quarantine, I was like, you know what? I should take this seriously. Since I'm stuck home all day, we can't go on adventures, I can't see any friends. I'm just gonna focus, and I'm gonna try to learn Primus on the bass. And it's Jimmy was a race car driver, Dan. He keeps calling it Johnny was a truck driver, and I'm like, you're wrong.
Maybe I should make a song called Johnny was a truck driver.
But yeah, that was the first one I'm trying.
Yeah,
And
she's
it's
shredding, dude.
real hard. But
Shredding.
I'm like, I might as well come out of quarantine actually get a bass since I've been putting it off all year because I'm pro procrastinator.
Oh, there's this repeat right there. Pro procrastinator.
Yeah.
Two
That's
things.
like my number one skill in life.
Procrastinating
Yeah.
is that connected more to, because usually when that comes up, is it more connected to you're not interested in a thing you're putting off, or there is like the energy to start it is the issue for you?
I just like there's so many things going on and I always get really distracted. When I get into something, I like really focus and I usually get really good at it really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem is like I start getting good at it and then I see something else and I'm like, I'm gonna go do that before I like reach that beginner, before I even like hit the top of the beginner hump. I'm just like, oh, this is going pretty good, let's go try something else now. So then it's just like I feel like I'm buzzing around.
You can already see you'd probably do well at that thing, and then by that point you lose as much interest.
Yeah, like,
as the other person needs to actually do it to get that feeling, I guess.
Yeah. So
but it's
like,
nice.
If I just focus, maybe one day I'll be good at one thing, but right now I'm not.
Here's a question. Does Dan bring a sense of focus toward you? What's a compliment that you guys have toward each other?
Definitely. He's been trying to implement schedules and I'm not very good at sticking to them. So.
The thing is, I'm actually like one of the least like naturally productive people you'll ever meet. But I've learned to turn that into insane productivity by spending my time doing things I enjoy and seeing as like leisure time. Like when I make a beat, it's like fun.
Yeah.
And I love like laying in the sunshine and reading. I call that studying. You know what I mean? Just like,
I mean, for the record, you're reading really like intense books usually.
but it's so fun.
Wait,
And I get to do.
books. I have to jump in. Long
Yes.
live books. Tell me the good news. Well, by the way, when we met, good insight shared between people, which doesn't always happen. No, I mean the average. No, it's great, but I won't even talk about other people. Insight is nice to share. What are some books you have read as of recently, and what did you take away from them, or what is one you're reading right now?
Number one we're reading right now. We're spending an hour a day reading it. It seems like very prescient to our time.
Mhm.
It's also thick and like.
It's dense. It's called the Tao of Capital, and it's kind of a description of the Austrian investing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Which the way I can best describe it is like a long-term view rather than short-term view. Not only on the stock market, but seeing the stock market as a natural phenomenon that emits from human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the best metaphor I've got from this book so far is if I ask you, it's like a famous psychological experiment. I ask you,
Is it the marshmallow experiment?
Yeah.
It's similar. It's like extending that a year into the future. So if I ask you if you want one apple today or two apples tomorrow, what's your answer?
520 years from now, I'm going a long way. But go ahead. Two
You're
apples.
smart.
I mean, that's.
But then you extend that in a year's time. Would you like one apple in 1 year's time or two apples in 1 year and 1 day?
Oh, that's terrible. 1 year and 1 day versus 1 year. But still, you know what? Just we're going a long time here. We're gonna be here for some years.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point, though. That one seems less inviting, though, because it's like a year and a day. Actually, it seems more inviting, actually, because then you'll have right after.
The point of the experiment is that there's like a ratio where like the longer you go, the more long you're willing to wait.
Yeah,
right.
And what's happening? The reason that like stocks might be overvalued right now is because people are trying to make money in the short term rather than seeing the reality of it being inflated.
Mm-hmm.
And the result of that is there's going to be a big crash later. And this guy, actually, I read an article that the guy that wrote this book in 2013 saw a 3,000% return on his investment in the last 2 weeks.
Mm.
So, and he's been like implementing this strategy since 2013.
Right.
And he's outperformed every other person in the finance game. So it's kind of like, wow, that's a wake up call. This guy knows what's going on.
One of the things is like this book it's one, it's about trees, and two, it's about investing, but the principles really apply to every aspect of life.
It's about human psychology, essentially, yeah. And it's about Taoism, so going with nature and being realistic about what nature is and flowing with it.
Yeah, it's about like being realistic.
It's a real cool book.
The Tao of Capital.
Yeah.
Tao.
D-A-O.
Oh, with the D. Oh, I thought it was a T.
It usually is a T, but it's usually pronounced D, but then he just spelled it D. I don't know.
Oh.
To each his own, I guess.
This long-term view is key. It comes to mind in a lot of different ways. Yeah, like let's say big investors. One guy, he's a business guy, and he says, if you believe in, let's say, the country you're in, it's worth investing in the stock market over a long time because it'll go with the country. Or Warren Buffett has just buffered himself, nice name to fit with that, over the years with just baseline items that continued. He's done that.
He's lived up to his name.
Mm-hmm. And also, to even more detail, the thing you said earlier, Krystall, right? I always think of girls are very analytical of long-term versus short-term view. Let's say Dan, right, was random other person that didn't actually focus on what he was describing, he would have fell into the category of the people you originally thought from a message, like, oh, what is this? But then when it's not that, it's the rare long-term view individual, and that's great, and we all like that. And then a girl might like said individual as such. So it's almost like long-term view is supported through evolution in that way.
Well, it's part
Yeah.
of. I think it's part of becoming an adult, and a lot of people don't go through that process.
Right.
Like I'm still a kid at heart, but I think I don't know. I partied super hard in my early 20s, like, and I got that shit out of my system, and I was like, all right, I want to build like a meaningful life. Let's do this.
Right.
Mhm.
That takes a mindset switch.
Yeah, totally.
I really like long-term thinking. Now, one other element I wanted to include too. You guys are in Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles. You're in a disconnected part of Los Angeles. But how do you like this county in general?
I fucking love it, dude.
Yeah, we have like everything.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in England where it's like raining all the time. It's gray. There's no color.
Dan's gotten to the point where if he has to wear a shirt, he's mad. He's like, "Where's the sunshine?" I'm like, you're from the place where it rains every day. Now
That's
you're
true.
bitching at me that there's no sunshine.
I just want to wear swim shorts, no shirt, and flip flops all the time. That's my
He's
life
become real
ambition.
spoiled.
Yeah.
It's way more relaxed.
Dude, I love it here, man. I love the people. Like, people want to talk to you more than in England. People are more open, friendly. I mean, they're slightly less honest, but that's okay. You have to be honest all the time with a small talk, especially if you don't know the person.
Right.
I like going to the store here. It's like a novelty experience.
Right.
All the strange breakfast cereals make me really excited.
They bring life to the party.
Yeah. And I got really into bagels, and I got really into Hanukkah because there's loads of Jews around here, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, Dan we celebrate all of the holidays, no matter what religion they are.
Yeah, I
All
love
of-
holidays.
Just boom, Kwanzaa, let's
Anytime he's like,
Yeah.
"There's a holiday," he looks up how to celebrate it, and we do all the things.
go. That's pretty cool. That's like including everybody one by one of different.
Yeah, it's
Right,
kind of
yeah.
fun to like learn about other cultures that way, and like just like you get to do the fun stuff, and like some of the holidays are kind of like intense, so you learn a lot.
Yeah. Question here for both. First, Krystall, what are 3 key features you key into in other people when you meet them or that you have known? Things that you look at that you're like, this matters to me.
Oh, non-superficial.
Oh, okay.
Like especially because like I was modeling for so long, and it's like people just look at you like an object, and it's like if anybody sees me that way, I can tell immediately, and it's like I'm not here for that. Like if it feels like you just want me around because I am looking a certain way, then I'm gonna not hang around.
Peace out,
Be out of
everybody.
here pretty quick.
Uh-huh.
It's happened numerous times.
Right.
And then like I love when people like want to do creative stuff together. Like I have friends that just want to go party, and it's like that's okay sometimes, but like I want to do creative stuff, so it's like being creative is really important for me, and then like being generous is also really important.
Giving nature.
Yeah, like anybody that's like I guess I'm part of easygoing is more the word I'm looking for, because it's like but like generous is part of that, but also like understanding and generous kind of at the same time makes you easygoing. Whereas like you understand people and you give them the space to be who they are, and you're not judgmental. Like that kind of all falls under generosity and easygoing for me. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Like your attitude has to be chill, but not like LA smoking weed chill, like actually chill. Because some of those people are the most uptight people you will ever meet. People that smoke weed all day and are like, I'm chill, bro.
Maybe you're not. But like,
no, you're not. You don't understand the meaning of the word.
What's the reason you smoke weed all day, dude?
Yeah, so it's like if you're like understanding and generous, artistic, and non-superficial, then we'll definitely get along.
Giving people space is a nice thing.
Yeah.
Dan.
I like when people are open-minded and are able to change their minds quickly.
Okay, like so adaptable.
Yeah, non-dogmatic, like flexible in thought. I think it's a really cool quality. And when people are like that, I get really excited because it's like, it's gonna be easy to talk to this person. Also, like people who are just interested in things naturally, like curious. I find that really cool. Like just a natural curiosity, willing to look into things and like excited by it. I think that's really cool. That makes me excited. And just people who are nice, who are like not trying to impress, just nice people. I think the world needs more really nice, kind people who value kindness as like kindness is number one most important thing. I think that's rad. It's a good way to live life, and I like people who are like that.
Right. That makes
but
sense.
At the same time, those qualities are hard to cultivate, so I understand when people don't have those too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't judge people. I just like hanging out with people like that.
It takes a lot to have some of these senses. Either you're built with them, or you really had to work on them a lot if you didn't have them.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of people, so we discussed a little bit about mindset and the general public. What are a couple of things, this is a good one, through your music that you would like to express about yourselves or to the public? Krystall, and then Dan.
I think a major factor in the music we've been releasing under Use is like self-expression and doing what you want to really do and being who you really want to be. That's been like a big part of your music, so that's something definitely I want to express. And then also like taking responsibility, like for your actions and for how your life is. So like those go hand in hand, really. Like taking the responsibility of what's going on, not blaming like the government or like pointing fingers or being like, well, this is God's fault or whatever. Like, yeah, like taking responsibility and taking action. It's like the two main things of Use is like use what you know and use your abilities. It's kind of like a big part of it. It's like we want to push people to be what they really want to be and use it to help the world.
Be an active participant.
Yeah.
Yeah, now is the time to get involved. Like, everything's open now.
Right.
We should use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And a lot of people are paused right now, so they're more reachable than they would be 3 months ago in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, now's really the time to like work on that creativity and like experiment and really do the things that you want to do or that you've always thought about, or like look at the questions and things that you're mad at and like look at how you can use what you always wanted to do, like use your skills to try to like work on those questions and those problems that we have.
Here's a question or a thought that comes up. Are you guys going to pair up and make TikTok videos together? What do you guys think about TikTok and the movement that is?
We're on TikTok.
You are on TikTok.
Starting one, we're slow. It's hard to. I posted a couple painting videos. We've done some comedy videos.
Is the boomerang video on there?
I think it is. There's a really funny video where Dan got a drone and he was like, "Hey Krystall, can you film me flying my drone? I think I finally figured it out." And I was like, "Okay, I'll film you." And so he like turns it on and it starts going and he's like, "I think I get it now. It's like a boomerang." And then he pushes the wrong button and the drone flies up and hits him in the head like 4 times. It's the funniest accidental thing I've ever caught on camera, and I can't believe that I caught it. It was amazing.
It was really painful.
The best part was just like, I wish I had filmed before I filmed it, and he was so excited. He's like, "I figured it out. You gotta film me. It's gonna be so cool." And then like I did it and just hit him in the face.
How hard did it hit you?
Classic.
I think it was pretty hard. It was the propeller that was.
I'm gonna see if I can send it to you, Armin. Maybe you can show it to all your viewers.
What's the TikTok address people can go to? Is it Untitled Social Experiment?
I think it's usebot001. Let me see.
Oh yeah, usebot001.
If it's on here.
Usebot001.
Yeah, on TikTok.
Yeah.
It has the most activity of any social network at this time.
Oh, here's the drone video.
And the most creativity. Oh, drone video. Is this going to work? This would be great.
Yeah.
Here it is, folks. He was hit.
Yeah, pretty hard. It's kind of glorious. It's hilarious.
Dude, what do you think about the idea that TikTok is a big AI research tool?
I will say, sure, why not? That's pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I mean, it might be.
I think that's actually the case. I think that's like what they're. I think there's a like a press release that said that's exactly what they're doing, wasn't there?
I mean, we could analyze. Yes. Yeah, the other apps also have a lot of content, but this one is.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, every like big data thing like Facebook is being used to train AI in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just really interesting to me that they're willing to lose like hundreds of billions of dollars every year in order to research for this general AI. It's kind of who's investing in that is interesting.
Speaking of, did you see that the FBI has released a physical fitness app so you can stay fit and in shape while you're on quarantine?
I didn't know that. Can you tell us more about that?
It's excellent. Their workout routines are so next level.
Dan hasn't downloaded it. We're not downloading it. I highly would suggest that if you're going to download it, you should read all of the terms of service because it's made by the FBI. But yeah, they're like, the FBI is like, download our app so you can get in shape. And we're like, what are you agreeing to? It's like a lot of the things that you agree to for these other apps, you don't realize, but they have like they have your location data, they have like access to your microphone, your camera, like. So just imagine what the FBI one. I mean, come on, be careful with that one, guys.
It's so sneaky.
So they think they're being really sneaky. That's the thing.
Guys, we've released an app for you. Just accept all the things, and it teaches you push-ups.
Yeah, FBI like certified push-ups. You can
cool.
work out just like an agent.
Oh my gosh! Then you'll be like, "Rip, what is that you just put down?" I thought maybe you'd be.
Oh, this is Pikachu.
Pikachu. Oh boy, we know him from Super Smash Brothers Melee.
This is my studio mascot.
That's your mascot?
Were we playing Super Smash Brothers the other day?
No, we were playing Mario Kart.
Oh yeah. I know it was Pokemon Stadium. That's what it was.
Oh, Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing.
Oh really? It was on the N64 in the cabin.
I didn't know.
That's pretty cool.
Oh shit.
Dan, question specifically for you. Your haircut. Hello. I like that. Hello, it's me. Your hair color is different than the default hair color of a person. What are a couple of ways that you are different from the typical person?
It's actually an illusion. They have this stuff called hair dye. And what I did was my hair's naturally dark. So we used bleach for like 3 times to get it like nearly white. And then I put hair dye on it.
I'm Dan's hairstylist.
Krystall did it.
Right.
It's an excellent job. I always wanted blue hair when I was a kid, and now I've got it, so I'm happy.
Like it stays?
Yeah.
Yeah, this hair tie is great. It smells really nice too.
It's like conditioner. It's blue conditioner.
So what are a couple of ways that you're atypical from the, maybe default individual that you might run across? Have you found any things that set you up a little bit apart? Yeah,
I'm like really, really good at swimming.
Oh.
He's horrible. That's a joke. He like just learned how to swim.
I don't know. What defines me? I have no idea. I'm not the best person to ask.
No. Okay.
No.
Dan is really good at making music.
Right. That makes sense.
He's been making like a new song every day, and we've been posting them to SoundCloud, and like every single one sounds like a fully produced track that he spent like months working on, but he made them in a course of hours. So like, there's that.
Okay.
You should check out. Yeah, there's a new one called Adam and Eve Meet Snake, Say No to Apple, and Live in Paradise Forever. I really like that one.
That was one song, or that was multiple?
Yeah,
that's all one song.
That's one song.
Oh.
But it's on SoundCloud. If you search T.O.L.D on SoundCloud, you should find it.
Just T.O.L.D?
T-O-L-D.
T.O.L.D. And then you can type in that whole long name. We also just released one yesterday called Tomorrow. That's pretty cool.
You guys are currently in the state of flow. One counterexample, have you ever had a period where you didn't have a state of flow and you were like, we got to get back into it?
Yeah, the past few months.
Dude, all the time. I always tell people that it goes in phases. You can't expect to be 100% productive all the time. Like, the mind doesn't work that way. For me, I go through phases of like productivity and then receptivity. So for months, I might just be like, not make anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to be cool with that because we live in a society where we're expected to be productive all the time. But, you know, the natural way of things is you have to absorb and then express. It's like there's a phase to it. And so that's why like relaxation and reading is a really important part of my life. Because those are the times where I'm like absorbing and thinking and processing.
And then it can come out.
And then I'm able to be super productive for like months.
Yeah, I feel like the key to productivity is absorbing a lot of things and then actually just turning your brain off. And like, so you have to go through like an absorption process. And then when you sit down to be creative, you just gonna have to turn your brain off, not think about everything, and just do what just happens. And like, you can sit down and be like focused and be like, I want to make this happen. But like 90% of the time when I do that, I just get really frustrated and then I don't want to do it. And then I like throw a temper tantrum and I rip up whatever I drew and I go sleep and I cry. So the number one way to not be productive is to try to be productive.
Yeah, exactly. Forcing it. It's not a good idea.
No, you cannot force things.
Yeah, like writer's block, it just means that you're not in the writing phase right now, I think.
Yeah, do some reading, listen to some tunes, read some news articles, figure out like what you feel strongly about, and then like meditate on that a little bit, and then something will just happen.
Yeah, and it might take weeks, it might take months. It's fine. Everybody works differently.
Yeah.
You have a down for this, which means an up for this, or down for this might be in a good time for a nap, or
Real, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't always.
Or like sometimes I'm like when I'm in that non-creative part, I like to learn new skills. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with this right now. I'm gonna go try learning something like a new level of this.
Yeah, and like running, I've recently discovered is a really good tool as well. Like I've recently got into running really far.
He means like really, really far. That's why Dan's weird. He loves running like 10 to 20 miles at a time.
But that's new. I never used to do that.
Just started recently.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a really cool way to just like.
Yeah, one way Dan is different than most humans is he loves to watch ultra running on the TV, which means just watching people run for hours, or like following it on the internet, which means like refreshing a spreadsheet for 4 days.
It's my favorite.
And doing nothing else other than staring at the spreadsheet.
Wait, what do you mean by the spreadsheet?
Like for ultra running, it's hilarious. He loves it so much, but like.
Yeah.
There's no like really way to cover ultra running because it's like people out in the forest running like 50 to 150 to like 200 miles.
Yeah.
So it's like these people are just out there for days, and the only coverage they have on it is when the people, they all have like trackers.
Oh.
So the spreadsheet just shows you where the person is and what their time is. So he's sitting there for like days, just like refreshing a spreadsheet. Like, oh, Candace is in the lead, and like all this stuff.
I love it. It's my favorite sport.
It's hilarious.
I actually have a news show on YouTube dedicated to the sport of ultra running. It's called Ultra News.
And it's just for ultra running?
Comedy.
Yeah.
It's comedy.
It's very informative though.
It's, yeah, Ultra News. Check it out.
Krystall, does Dan have some troll in him?
Oh, completely.
Yeah. That's
just
pretty cool.
Listen to the Adam and Eve song. That's like a troll song.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah, the Untold. T.O.L.D. We just released it on SoundCloud. Listen, if you listen to like tomorrow's one we just released, and then right after that it'll be the Adam and Eve one. And you'll be like, this is hilarious.
Boom. That's the stuff right there. One thing I like to do towards the end of the episode is, do you have a question for the host? Sometimes people like this part. Do you have any questions for the host? Who is me? That is me. Any questions come to mind? Did I get cut off?
No idea who you are. What do you create most of the time other than podcasts?
Well, so other than podcast and everything connected to it, I do a bunch of TikTok messages that have insight that barely connects with the TikTok community, and then stuff on Instagram that's like insights or messages. I used to have a blog like 10 years ago, and so I would write a lot of articles about personal development on there, and those are some of the main ones. A lot of different like little clips and videos like that. Articles before too.
Essays and stuff.
Say again?
Like essays.
Essays, yes. They would be kind of, yeah, pretty much essays. I would write essays.
Very cool. I have a question for you as well. So how many episodes into your podcast were you before you found yourself really like comfortable with the medium, like the flow of it and stuff?
I will say the actual flow, it's improved over time. I was comfortable from episode 1, but it has improved for the view. So I'll say it took, it depended which phase I was in, because I had a phase that was more me, and then I got good at that. Then I had a phase with a lot of people that I knew, like personally, and then those got pretty smooth. And then I got a phase with more authors and public researchers. So I adapted each time and then added a video later on. So each one I added something, but pretty quickly. If you put me in front of 100,000 people right now, I'd be good to go. So it's sort of
That's
already,
awesome.
It's already there kind of. But
Yeah.
would you guys ever make a podcast? Do you have one? Is it T.O.L.D and then something? It's already there? No.
I mean, I tried to start a podcast when I was in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard, dude.
It was hard.
Like, it was hard, yeah. But I would invite people around to my house and we would do it like one-on-one.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I just found it was like, I really want to do it eventually, but now's not the right time. I think me and Krystall might start doing more spoken word stuff, like have just like a podcast between the two of us, maybe.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
I think people would like that.
But I mean, dude, I spend most of my time listening to podcasts, so I'm a huge fan of the medium.
That's nice.
Yeah.
In closing, this one I always like to add, so this is great. From each of you, what is a message, if you had a megaphone to all 7.8 billion people on the planet, a message you'd want to tell people either for them or something that is important to you that you would want them all to hear? Dan first.
Everything's going to be okay.
That's a good one right there. And now, Krystall.
There's so many things.
We know you like on the spot stuff, so this one's on the spot.
Stop taking yourself too seriously, and keep going one day at a time. We're gonna, just keep doing stuff. Don't let like anybody stop you or freak you out. Keep going.
That's a nice message. 2 great messages. Both of you, Dan, Krystall, Untitled Social Experiment, also known as Use. I want to thank you for having been on episode 256, which is 2 to the 8th.
Cool.
On the show. Glad to have had you on.
Thank you so much, dude.
Thanks, Armin.
It's a pleasure.
You know it.
Have a great day and enjoy the quarantine period. It's can be a magical time for all of us.
Yeah.
True then. And we are out.